Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I trust you can see us and hear us. And I see a lot of you have already gotten on here, so let's see who we've got today. It is a long weekend here in Canada. It's in Ontario, we call it the Civic Holiday or Lord Simcoe Day. In other parts of the province or the country, it has different names. None of us know why we have it as a long weekend.
I think it's just they decided we needed a long weekend.
I guess. So we have a long weekend. For us, every weekend's long, but maybe not the same for some of you. So who is here? We have Tamela's here and Melissa. Math Geek is here. Finally get to catch you live for a few minutes. Okay, Math, that's great. Suzanne's here and Dawn is here. Melissa was trying to get her grass cut before the storm, but didn't make it. Yeah, we're nice and sunny here. I don't think there's anything in the forecast today except sunshine.
No, it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Oh, that's nice. Stephanie is here. Hello, Stephanie. And who else is here? Karen B is here. Gail is here. Move my cursor down. I hate those little stupid emoticons that come up on the side of these are quite annoying. Oh. So why can't I don't want them on my screen. I don't like that. I wonder if I can turn that off somehow.
Yeah, probably.
It's very annoying. Sue is here. Judy, Carrie, Barb. I said Gail. Derek is here. Yes, I'm wearing my new shirt, Stephanie. We'll talk about that shortly. Patty is here. Brenda's here. Thanks, Brenda. Linda is here. Derek says he's just back from the UK Festival of Quilts. Really tiring, but really inspiring. Met Tracy Perks and Kate from Last Homely House. Wow. Angela Walters, the Midnight Quilter, was lecturing. Oh, that's nice. All the celebs were there. Kathy, hello. And Jeannie's here. And Pamela's here. So, probably a few other people will be joining us. Hard to say how many people we might have today that are Canadian. Do we ever have a lot of Canadians? I don't know.
Actually, I went to Lowe's today, and it was pretty dead in there. But of course, Lowe's in Canada is actually leaving.
Yeah, it's coming Rona again.
It's becoming, yeah, it's becoming a Canadian corporation again called Rona Plus.
Hello, Milena and Janet. Yeah, well, it's changed a lot. But yes, as you can see, I am wearing Walter's latest finish creation, my other kitty shirt. First time, I'm premiering it today. He's working on another one. You're going to show us my other kitty shirt.
This is the one that Steve requested me to make because he bought this fabric. And so I started it yesterday. So I got the fronts done and I got the pocket on. So the pocket. Where's the pocket?
Well, it's an invisible pocket.
The pocket's here.
It's your trademark invisible pockets.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so this fabric was inspired by Jan, one of our regulars here. Everybody knows Jan. Jan put me onto this fabric along with a few others. And, of course, I think she's the one that suggested it would make a nice shirt as well. And I agree because it's my color scheme.
It's a blue with some purple in it. And, so it's coming along.
Yep. Yes, everybody's congratulating Stephanie, as they should, because Stephanie won quite a few ribbons in their state fair, the Ohio State Fair. Congratulations, Stephanie.
Yeah, congratulations.
And Stephanie did show the quilts at the state fair as well on her channel. If you haven't seen that, you should check it out. And people are liking the shirt, which is nice. And
actually, I think I quite like it as well.
Well, it's mine. It won't fit you. It's too small.
Yeah, right.
It's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Well, I've been busy, too. So a lot of you that were at the Pop-Up Sew Day yesterday knew that I was working on this. And I'll just throw it up here on the screen for you. So there it is. The Art East Quilting Company's Cat Scratch Quilt. The Kitties from Hell, as I'd like to speak of them of. And today is a bit of this is an opportunity today. If you saw the title, I said, what's pissing you off? And when I meant that, I meant your turn today, people. If there's some things that come up that are pissing you off, not about us. We're off limits. But feel free to say, because we're going to talk about a few things pissing us off. But one thing that was pissing me off about this pattern, okay, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Art East Quilt Company because it's all the rage right now. They're fun, they're whimsical, but I bought this as a kit, and I bought it at the Halifax Quilt Show. I bought it from a company called Patch Halifax, and I don't want to say for sure, but there, do you see the teal green fabric, the background fabric? There wasn't enough of that because I was supposed to use that as border as well. Now, I was very conscious of what I was cutting. I was stingy in the cutting because, you know, with quilt kits, oftentimes they shortchange you. Had this discussion before. We talked about it on So Chatty, I believe, this week. You know, I don't know why quilting stores do this. Charge a little bit more, but put in a little bit more fabric because people make mistakes. And that's one of my pet peeves that pisses me off. But we recovered from it with the help of everybody that was on when I was working on this yesterday. They came up with some brilliant suggestions for what to do. One of those brilliant suggestions was the idea of doing a very thin black inner border to offset the color that I was using for the outer border. I didn't have any other color that would work with that background. That background fabric is not my choice.
No, it's the color that I associate with the scrubs that people wear in hospitals.
Yeah, that's right. I hadn't thought of that, but you're absolutely right about that. But that all the colors were the ones that came in the kit. But also, I had fabric in other colors that was left over. Now, we did an extensive analysis of the pattern, those of us on the pop-up sew day yesterday. And yeah, that was my fault. These patterns are very easy to follow, but there's 100,000 little pieces to be cut for each one of these blocks. And the pattern did not really clearly state which fabrics should go where. You'll notice my cats, most of them are two different colors. You know, that's sort of on purpose, but that's because I didn't have enough fabric for certain things. Now, I did examine the diagram a little bit more closely, and then I saw, okay, so they were doing the cats in two different colors, but they were using one color here and another color there. I didn't really realize that. But the problem with the kit itself, and this isn't anything to do with the instructions, the fabric in the kit was not clearly labeled. And you know what happens when they print the color of the fabric on a pattern. That process of printing the colors does not always match what you get in the kit. Like, exactly, because there's a color shift in, you know, in the different mediums, seeing it in real life and seeing it in printed form. So that made things a little confusing. Also, John, the designer of this pattern, named specific fabrics for this. They were all Konas, and he had the name for each one of the colors. However, those color names were not on the fabric because the fabric didn't have a selvage on it. That was in the kit. The selvages were pretty much gone.
It should have probably been marked on the fabric.
Yeah, it should have been. It would have made life a heck of a lot easier. But nevertheless, that doesn't bother me as much because I'm quite happy with the colors that I used in the cats and everything. They're whimsical. Cats are not the same color from head to tail, usually. Well, every now and then you get one that is. Like our Cleo, she was all white except for a little bit of orangey brown on her forehead and on her tail, on the tip of her tail. But that doesn't matter. I mean, obviously these are not meant to be realistic. They're meant to be fun. So that's okay. But what did piss me off was the backing fabric. Now, this was maybe a serendipitous moment because, and I don't often get a chance to use that word, but I do love that word, serendipitous. Say it once, say it twice. I like the colors that I used in the border and the way that I treated the border. Again, thanks goes out to everybody who contributed their thoughts about that yesterday on the pop-up day. I like it better than if it had just been that background color that you see there. So, I mean, the whole thing wouldn't have had any division point in it. Now, there were, you see little goldfish that are around the center cat? Well, there are 4 more of those, and they were supposed to be cornerstones in the border. And I did make them. And I had thought of incorporating them in with this color, but I just didn't like the way it looked. It was very distracting if I'd put those in. Again, it probably would have worked fine if I'd had enough of the backing fabric, because they would have gone with it.
Yeah, but actually, if I look at this quilt right now, I think it looks better than if you used more of that green backing in there.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I think that as a border might be. I think then you'd still need to put another border around it to make it look nicer.
Well, I think it centers the cats. Your eyes don't focus on the border. Your eyes go right to the cats, and that's what it's supposed to do. The border should just complement it, and I think
like in some ways, the way I'm looking at it, maybe it would have been nice if you had a thin border of the background fabric around it. That way, the scratches on the edges would be like more, not right next to the border, right?
Yeah, true.
But and then again, put like this fabric that you've got around it the way it is. But you didn't obviously have enough.
I didn't have enough even to do that.
No, I know.
But no, I see what you mean, because the scratches then would have had a little bit more space. They wouldn't be quite right up against the border. That is something I had not thought of. But I didn't have enough of that fabric. No. So it is what it is. And it'll be fine. Now I can get it quilted. I haven't quilted it yet. But it's fine. And I really appreciate the help I got yesterday, because there were some really great ideas there, and they worked. So let's see, what's everybody saying here? Probably got a few more people in. Gadget Girl's here. Hi, Gadget Girl from sunny New Brunswick. I don't think it was too sunny yesterday, though, was it? It was, according to one of...
Well, somebody's cutting the lawn.
Oh, okay.
We have the windows open, so...
Yeah, wondered what that noise was. Anyways, yesterday Heidi's usually on here. She's from New Brunswick. She said it was rainy yesterday in New Brunswick, like as if you need more rain out in that end of the world. Well, it's Nova Scotia. They got the flooding, wasn't it? But nevertheless. Jeff is here. Hi, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. That's nice of you to say. Yeah, I guess, Derek, it was a labor of love for the cat scratch. I mean, I'll be honest. I am, okay, this is going to be sacrilege. I know, and I'm going to get hate mail. It's just like I say, I'm not a fan of Tula Pink. Oh! Everybody just goes nuts on that. Well, guess what? I'm not a fan of Art East Quilting Company either. Oh, no, say it isn't so. How can you do that? Yeah, I know. And I'll be very honest about it. I think right now, he's the flavor of the year. It's different. Everybody wants to do one. I didn't really want to do one. I just suffered from FOMO, fear of missing out. Everybody I know has been doing Art East Quilt Company or trading Art East Quilting Company pattern. Now, they are fun. I mean, they're whimsical. He's got the Wizard of Oz ones. He's doing Alice in Wonderland, all that kind of stuff. He's got other patterns as well. He's got blowing up bunnies. I love that one. I don't know when I'll make it, but I bought the pattern for that just because it's fun. But I'm not a fun person.
That's for sure.
When it comes, bite me. When it comes to quilts and stuff, I'm not all into. Maybe at Christmas time, maybe Halloween, more novelty. But I consider this kind of quilt a novelty. Well, if you're making it maybe for a kid, I could see that. But I don't know any kids. And let them make their own quilt. So, yeah. But his patterns are very well written. Almost to the point of being overwritten. They are wordy. Very, very wordy. And you can get lost, at least I did, at times. I had to reread because I think numbers would have helped to keep you on track. I mean, he had him divided into sections, but then he had little footnotes within those sections. For example, and I still don't know if I'm misinterpreting this or what, but it said if you're doing the large quilt, don't do the goldfish. Yet, there is no way you could have done the large quilt, that's the large quilt that I just showed you, and not do the goldfish. Because he had a diagram showing you how to lay it all out. And there was extra like pieces of sashing that had to go in the same color as the backing, so you can't tell that they're sashing, but to make the blocks fit together. And if you hadn't put in the goldfish, his measurements, his layout wouldn't have worked. So that was a little confusing. I'm still thinking, am I misinterpreting what he said? But there was a lot of things in the pattern like that. You really had to study it. So, user error. I blame it on me. They always say, read the pattern from beginning to end, right? Do I do that? I've even told people to do that, but I don't do it, and probably I should have. Why don't I? Bores me to tears. I just want to get into it and start it. This is one pattern though, and if you have never done an Art East quilt, my recommendation is, even if you don't like doing it, read it cover to cover and think about it. Have a pen in your hand, a pencil in your hand, make little notes for yourself. Because I think that would have helped. I didn't do that. Okay, that's on me. That has nothing to do with the designer. Okay, but as I said, these kind of quilts take a long time. That's the other thing. Don't rush. Do not think you're going to get this done in a couple of days. You can't rush it because you're just going to get lost in it. There is a lot of cutting, so make sure you have a system for keeping your pieces labeled. I did. In fact, I was taking them, labeling them with little sticky notes, and pinning them to small design boards. It looked like, you know how people have those bug collections in museums where they put all the pins through the caterpillars and the butterflies? That's what my boards look like. And I say boards. There was more than one. And they're all laid out. And it was a good thing because it's the only way you can keep you straight, because a lot of these pieces, you have a long, narrow piece and it says it has to be 1¼ inches in width. But then you have another one in the same color and it's 1½ inches, and then another one that's 1.75. You put those, when you're looking at them, you can't tell if you don't label it. And I got them mixed up. I had to rip them out. I used a 1½ inch width when it should have been a 1¼ So that's what I mean. This is something you have to really take your time with. I don't know. I know he does sew-alongs. Kind of a thing. You can sign up for them. They're a paid kind of a thing. Might be a good way to do one, is to do it like that. Because then you'd have him, and other people to help you out with it. But again, it's not because it is poorly written. It's just overwritten, I think. I'm a visual learner, which is kind of ironic because I taught English, but I am a visual learner. But anyways, it's done. I know how I'm going to quilt it. I got to figure out what I have for backing, back fabric with that. And yeah, I'll get back onto that at some point in time.
What about that green stuff that you got for, or you may not want to use it, that fit for
Oh, that one. That might work. I'll have to check it, the color against it. Yeah, I may have something. That might work. Yeah. Okay, so what are people saying here? Yes, I think that was actually Karen. The black part, I think, was actually Jeannie's, who's on here. Her suggestion. And yes, I like it. That worked out well. Patsy says the weather is pissing me off. Too hot.
It's actually not bad here. It's 25 degrees Celsius, which is 77 Fahrenheit. And there's a nice breeze, so we opened the windows.
Yeah, we got everything opened up, so now the guy next door is cutting his grass.
And he always seems to cut it at 4 o'clock on a Sunday.
I think he knows what we're doing. I don't know. Yeah, thanks everybody. I'm glad that you like the borders on it, because it was a bit of a trial trying to go through my stash and figure out what I had to do that with. Um, oh, Kathy's not a Tula fan either. Well, I appreciate Tula's artistic abilities. Um, and I know pink's her thing. Tula pink, you know. Um, and I do admire the fabric. I don't hate the fabric.
It's just that it's not for you.
It's not for me. I could never see myself making a quilt.
Well,
Using
even
that.
there's very few of her fabrics that I think I would make a shirt out of. There are a few that have a dark black background that has some color in it.
Yeah, she has some
that might lean itself for a shirt for me
Yeah.
a bit.
Well, she's got some stripes and things like that in her lines as well. I think they're meant to be pieces to work with. Well, I know they're supposed to work with her, ones that are her characters and things like that. I mean, they make fantastic bags. Adam makes bags with Tula pink all the time. But Adam, if you follow him, he's a curator. He collects Tula fabric. He'll go the distance to get discontinued Tula, and the whole bit. And he makes beautiful bags with the Tula. They do look fantastic. I just can't picture for my style making a whole quilt from Tula Pink's stuff. Colleen says the shirts are fabulous. The cat quilt came out great. Nancy says tons of work. I wouldn't have the patience for it. Well, Nancy, it is a lot of work. Itty bitty little pieces on there, but it's done. I'm not going to be rushing around to start the blowing up bunnies very soon. Who knows how long it'll be before I ever get to it. Maybe never. Barb says, what do you mean you're not fun? What about all your trolls? They're not trolls. They're gnomes. Trolls live under bridges. Gnomes frolic amongst the foliage. Yeah. Okay. Barb corrected herself there. I mean gnomes, yeah. Derek says, I have to admit that whilst like a lot of K Facet fabrics, I sometimes find the obsession about his fabric designs a bit cult-like. Some is fine, but I can take or leave those fabrics. Well, I did drink the K Facet Kool-Aid when I first got into quilting. I bought a lot of K Facet, and I really liked it, but I'm done with Kafe now. He really hasn't come up with anything spectacularly new. It's the same old, same old. It's another floral. And I mean, I like his colors and things like that. But his fabric can be somewhat tricky to work with too, because he has very large prints in a lot of it, although he has some small too. But I do like his fabric, but I'm over him too now. Like, I don't buy any Kafe anymore. I've done him. He's old news. Shirley's here. Hi, Shirley. Oh, I guess I'm chopped liver with Shirley. Hello, Walter and everyone. Oh, I guess she's saying hello to me with the name of my channel. Yeah. Whatever. I'm just kidding, Shirley. Oh, Cheryl's here. Hi, Cheryl. Yeah, Cheryl's smart. She says she always reads the pattern at least a few times. Yes, I know. You need to. And someone suggested, and this was a really good suggestion yesterday at the pop-up sew day, that did they give the measurements for each of the colors of fabrics that they included in the kit? Well, they did say how much. I didn't measure the fabrics. You see, there's another problem. I assumed that I was getting what it said on the pattern that you were supposed to be getting. Well, mistakes happen when people are making up kits, I mean, I'm not saying that the company that put this together did this on purpose. I don't think they did. I think maybe something got cut a little short. Or maybe I was too generous in my cutting, although I tried not to be. But all you need to do is give us 6 more inches on each of the pieces. Charge us $10, $15 more for the kit. We'll pay for it. Actually, and Stephanie can mention this, because I was watching Stephanie yesterday when she was working on the cotton cuts thing. And I heard either Shannon or Stephanie, somebody mentioned there was something called the Oops kit. And in my mind, I'm not sure, Stephanie can clear that up for me, but the Oops kit, it sounds like you can, for an additional charge, you can buy extra fabric in case you need it because you make a mistake. I think that's actually a really great idea if that's what it's for. The only thing I have against that is, Why are you selling it as a separate package? Why don't you just put that extra fabric into the whole thing and just sell it at that at an increased price a little bit? I don't know. Marketing. I don't know. Kathy says, it does not motivate me to want to make one of those patterns. Yeah. Like I said, fear of missing out. You want to make one?
No, not no.
You can do blowing up bunnies. Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. It might be too intricate for me.
I think you'd get bored pretty quick with it. Faith's here. Hi, Faith. New week, new stupid question. What is the orange thing attracted to the cupboard? Attracted to the
Attached,
cupboard over your right shoulder. What is the orange?
I think the only thing I see is you have reels and reels of PLA, or what do we call it? Stuff.
Are you talking about that thing that's round? That's sort of a brownie orange. That's a spool of filament for my 3D printers, if that's what you're looking at, Faith. Sweet Granny's here. Hello, Amanda. Yeah, Patsy's not a fan either of Tula. Kathy says, I like the fabric you call pastels and I call brights. I also don't like to sew with the color lilac lavenders. It makes me think of doilies and old ladies. Is Russ on here? Oops. It's his favorite colors. Yeah, Melissa says, I always need oopsie fabric. Yeah, me too. You get a little extra of each color, Stephanie says, in case of a mistake for a small charge. Well, that's a great idea because we all make mistakes. Oh, Mary is, oops, I'm late. Yes, you are, Mary. We're whipping you. Eighth of a yard, Stephen. Like an eighth of a yard. Yeah. I would pay extra. I would. So you don't use it all. You've got it for your stash, right?
Well, maybe they're afraid that you're not going to buy the kit or you could be criticized if you have leftover fabric in the kit. And then people would say, well, if you didn't put so much fabric in it, the kit could have been cheaper.
Well, you want to know something? Don't anybody take offense to this, but quilters are the cheapest bunch of people you can meet. Because you walk into a quilt store and you're going to hear them, I just need 1 3/8 meters of that. And a lot of stores won't sell you something that small. It's all in half meter is as small as they'll go. And I don't blame them for that. Because then they've got little bits on the end of a roll that aren't big enough for anything after they cut all that and they can't get rid of it. So, yeah. But I've heard them in there. It's like they're so afraid that they're going to get a little too much. And the difference between 3/8 and half a meter in price is pennies. It's really pennies. It's the difference of an eighth. It's an eighth. Okay, 3/8 of a meter. 4/8 of a meter is half a meter. 3/8 is 1/8 from half a meter.
Okay, she's asking about the cupboard door front. Now we can't see it in our video, but there's that orange thing that's on the end of the cupboard, right?
Orange thing on the end of what?
The lizard.
Oh, that. Yeah. That's a lizard. It's our pet lizard. It's dead. Well, it's made of plastic. It's very dead. Yeah, it's one of the things I stuck it on the door because it's just there. It's fun. I forget about to have these things if people don't point them out.
Yeah, it looks like a lizard. It is a lizard.
Yeah, Barb says that Fat Quarter Shop's very generous with their fabric in their kits. I've never ordered one of their kits, so yeah, I know. But
I mean, it would be nice if they put it on the outside. We have extra. If you have extra fabric left over, it's because we put extra fabric.
Well, the other thing too is you get started on a kit, right? And if you're like me, I have a whole bunch of kits that I've had for several years that I've never taken out of the package, and that fabric that came with that kit may not be available anymore. So I guess the next thing I have to do is when I work on the next kit that's been in my stash for a while, is I need to go through the instructions, and if it says on the pattern how much fabric, to check that out for each thing and label all the fabric carefully. And if there's one that I think is going to be short, then try and go and find a substitute or the same one at the quilt store, I guess. I mean, it's an ounce of prevention. Instead of, I just like to leap right in. I want to make a new project, go, yay, page 1, cut this. Okay, no problem. I will do that with it. Nothing explains having unused fabrics in the cat's quilt. Yeah, I know, Jeannie. That one just boggled my mind. Um, and then Stephanie says, I think they don't give it with regular kit, the Oops kit, because it's a waste if you're practically perfect like me.
Well, actually,
quilter, yeah.
To clarify, Steve had extra fabric
Yeah.
in the cat's quilt that he didn't use.
I didn't even use.
But there wasn't enough background fabric, so it was kind of confusing that he had all this extra fabric in there.
You see, what they did with this pattern was they laid it out. They color coded each section in the cutting diagram. So all the background cuts were in this teal color, so that sort of looked like with the background fabric that was supplied with it. Then they had cat light, cat medium, cat dark. There are 6 cats in this quilt, but they didn't label the fabric. So I thought, okay, this is what I'm supposed to cut for all of the cats. It turned out it wasn't, but they didn't clarify that. They did it for every cat. It was the same thing. Cat light, cat medium, cat dark. Now I got thinking about what they were doing. They did have different values of fabric, okay, in the same color range. So I think what you were supposed to do was pick your 3 colors. Pick your cat light, your cat medium, your cat dark for the first 2 cats that they're telling you to cut for. Then pick different ones for a cat for the next cats and that kind of thing. Maybe there would have been enough fabric that way, but it didn't say that.
But it wouldn't still give you enough fabric for the back.
No, the backing is still like,
yeah,
there wasn't enough backing for it. Background fabric, not backing, background fabric for it. So yeah.
You didn't use any of your own fabric, did you?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I didn't use any of my own. I used all the only of my own fabric was the black, the borders.
Yeah.
That came out of my stash. Sherlock says, I'm not a cheap quilter. I buy extra. I know myself well. My leftovers I can donate to nursing home or the high schools. I always buy more than I need.
Yeah, well, there's kind of 2 schools of thought. There's some people that are really cheap with their fabric.
Yeah.
And then we've seen that. We've seen that in the store. And I've seen that even with clothing, people that make clothing and that really cheap out on what they get for clothing yardage. And but then what always happens is somebody either cut something wrong, like I've done it where I've cut a collar wrong, and then I go, oh, I gotta recut it or something like that. And if you shortchange yourself on fabric, you might not have.
Who's trying to see if you cut this one right?
Well, I cut it right, except the cats are upside down. But anyway,
They're kitties on their heads.
But I mean, I've made it so that I've cut it from the wrong end, and you end up having not enough fabric for the collars. So,
you need the extra fabric.
Yeah, the extra fabric's nice to have. And I've had it one time where I accidentally, I often serge my sleeves in, and I had it where the machine ate through one of my sleeves, so I had to cut another sleeve it. And if you didn't have the fabric, you'd have to. And
I've done that in things where I'm right down to the wire for one reason or another. I didn't quite buy like the extra that I needed, and I figured I was going to get away with it for one reason or another, and then I get down to it and I make a mistake and I go, I don't have any more of this fabric. And 9 times out of 10 you can rip off to your quilt store and you're not going to get that fabric. It will be gone.
But we've seen it, I've seen it in quilt stores where somebody will say, well, I really only need 1 1/8 meter. Can you just sell me 1 1/8? And our quilt store says you need at least 1 1/2. Well, what's it going to kill you to get 1/2 meter as opposed to?
I mean, I know people will blame quilt stores and say they're just trying to make more money by doing that. Well, it is a business, but I don't think that's the point of it. I think for some of them, I know at our local quilt store, when I first got into quilting, I went in there to buy fabric for a specific quilt that I was making, and I was new to this, And I asked for a certain amount of fabric, and the ladies went, "No, no, you don't need that much." And
Yeah,
I
you
went,
brought your quilt in,
"Yeah,
and you said, well, you were looking for fabric for the back, and you said, well, I just want to buy 3 meters or
yeah."
something like this fabric. And they're going, oh, you don't need that much. You don't need that much at all. So they went and measured it and calculated it all out and all this other stuff. And they said, well, you can get away with X number, which was less.
And I
right?
put up a protest. I
And
said, "Well, I know, but I feel more comfortable if I have the 3 meters." They would not. They would not cut me the 3 meters. They were insisting that that was overkill. I didn't need that. This is what I needed. This would do it. This a whole bit. And because I was a relatively new quilter, I bowed to their expertise. I mean, I figured, well, you guys have been doing this for years. You know better than I do, so I'll go with yours. Guess what?
you were short.
I was short. Not by a lot, but enough. And, I was using it as backing. So I went back into the store.
Yeah, and actually, the owner of the store, you complained, and you said you told me this. The owner of the store said you could return the fabric if you wanted to. She was nice about it, and she basically scolded the women that said, "Look, if he comes in and says he wants to buy 3 meters of fabric, sell him 3 meters of fabric,
Yeah.
regardless of what he wants."
Now, I wasn't, Walter made it sound like I was real pissy about it. I was not pissy about it. I just came in, I kind of made a joke out of it. Says, well, I'm here to get some more fabric. I said, because what you ladies cut for me was not enough. And the owner happened to be there and she overheard it, right? And maybe she assumed I was, she didn't want to lose a customer, but I wasn't jumping up and down all over their head or anything. I was sort of laughing about it. And I said, when I say this is how much I want, just give it to me.
Yeah, and ever since then, if we walk in there and say we want like 2.5 meters of fabric or 3 meters of fabric, they know that they have to cut that much for us.
But I know too that they know that I don't mind having too much fabric in my stash. I've trained them for that now. But, they do have ones that come in there. Like we said, we've heard them. And Shirley now has a policy. She doesn't sell anything under 0.5 meter. I think at the time that I was getting this, I think she did sell like 1.25 meters or something like that. But I think she just got sick and tired of having all this end of the bolt that didn't have enough on it to do anything with. And then what do you do with it? Well, she can roll it up and call it a remnant and put it in a bin. But, I don't know about a lot of people, but I look at those remnants and I go,
yeah, I think that's the problem when places have if they sell under a half a meter or under half a yard, because most of the bolts are all in meters or yards. And so if they don't cut the right amount, then they may end up having a bolt with a weird amount of fabric on the end of it.
I mean, yeah, fabric's expensive, especially now. It's very expensive.
I have a curious question. I was thinking of that when I was cutting this fabric.
Just before you ask your question, but what I was going to say is fabric is expensive now, but let's face it, this is a hobby. If you can't afford fabric for this hobby, maybe you need to find a different hobby. Because it no matter how you slice it or how you cut it, it's going to be expensive. Okay, so it's just something you have to get over. Now, what's your question?
I was just going to ask you, when you bought this fabric, you bought this online, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, did you buy it? Was it measured in yards or was it measured in meters?
That's a good question. It came from
I bet you it was measured
a little
in
something
yards.
extra. It may have been yards.
Yeah, because I noticed didn't have as much left over as I thought.
Okay, so then it's yards. Yep. That's another thing that pisses me off about Canadian stores. American ones, yeah, you expect it to be in yards. But in Canadian stores, they need to sell their fabric in meters for many reasons. And you know why they don't, some of them? Because they want to appeal to the American market. And so they're doing what Americans are used to, the yard. Well, you're getting a little shortchanged on that too, because a yard is only 36 inches, a meter is 39. Okay. There are a few places though that actually give you two prices. One price for a yard, one price for a meter. And the meter costs a little bit more because they're taking into consideration the 3 inches that you're getting. Like, they don't want to lose any money on that whatsoever. But I've run into a couple of online stores that do that. Couldn't tell you who they are now. that kind of reeks of cheapness. But it should just be in meters. Really, that's how we think in Canada, in meters. Although ironically,
And ironically,
patterns are
a lot of the patterns are in inches.
Mhm.
Like even clothing patterns are a lot of times are in inches. So.
Yeah, so I guess. So what's everybody saying here? I gotta move up a little bit. Lucy says, how about a video showing us all your unused kits? It'd be very interesting. Huh. I guess I could with that. Yeah. Good idea there, Lucy. Let me write that down. I might put that on Idiot Quilter in a week's time. Kits. Show. Okay. Landa. Hello, Landa. I don't buy kits anymore. I've been shorted too many times and can't get more. Yeah. And Stephanie says, that was weird that you had so much extra unused extra fabric. Almost wonder if that kit was cut for the smaller size and any mismarked as the large if they were cutting both sizes. Well, yeah, I wondered about that too, because it says, it didn't say on the package whether this was meant for the smaller wall hanging one or it would cover like the large. And that might account for the shortage in background. Or I just thought of this. I wonder if the person that was cutting the fabric for the kit accidentally read, because there's three sizes in this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one for the blocks, if you just want to do a block, one for a wall hanging, and one for full-size quilt. I wonder, and they're all in a column. It would be very easy for someone who's cutting the fabric up for the kit to read the wrong column. And maybe they cut me enough backing fabric or background fabric for the wall hanging when they really meant it should have been for the full size. I just thought of that. That's a possibility. Elizabeth is here. Hi, Elizabeth. I like Fat Quarter Shop. I just cut one of their kits out and made a mistake. Recut and still had leftover fabric. They're always generous. Yeah, that's the way they all should be. Lucy says, perhaps you should make a green cat. Why?
There isn't enough green fabric.
Yeah. Okay, Lucy, why? I don't... Are we being funny? Or is this a serious suggestion? I don't know why. Tell me more. Tell me more, Lucy. Melissa says, good point, Stephanie. Kathy, I agree. I made the Happy-Go-Lucky quilt leftovers from the charity quilt kit. Yeah, okay, so Fat Quarter Shop. I have never ordered from Fat Quarter Shop. Again, you know why. We're Canadian.
Yeah, I ordered something from Fat Quarter Shop on around the Christmas time, and it took a long time for it to come.
Yeah.
Almost a month. I bought it for Christmas, and I almost didn't get it in time.
And that's because of
our shipping. Actually, what it was is it didn't take too long to get to the Canadian border, but the Canadian customs sat on it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Sherlock says, I volunteered for a local quilt store. Before they closed, some quilters wanted exactly what the pattern says in the fabrics. No more and no less. You know, really, I think they're arrogant little a-holes that do that, because are you that good? You're that good? You don't make a mistake at all, ever? I don't think there's any quilter out there that hasn't made a mistake. And probably you've made at least one mistake somewhere in every quilt that you've made, where you've cut something wrong or you've sewn it wrong or something like that. So those ones who walk in and do that kind of thing, arrogant. Oh, Heidi's here. Hi, Heidi. Heidi, oh, Heidi. Some quilters can't afford it, use all recycled sheets, etc. That's work around the cost. Yes, there are work around it. In England, it's illegal to sell material by the yard. What do they sell it by the meter then? They have to sell it by the meter? It's illegal?
I found that strange because you have imperial measurement.
Yeah, really, because you're like us in Canada. You're kind of both systems. But, interesting. Melissa says, I agree. Buy from Canada or UK, they buy in meters. Okay. Alexandria's here. Hello, Alexandria. She loves buying kits. Irony. Lucy says it's irony. Yeah. Would love to be able to buy, Faith says, an old unused kit. Yes, I know postage, but I would pay for it. Yeah, I'm not selling mine. Besides, you'd have to promise me your firstborn in order to afford it for the shipping. Oh, Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. So, anyways, I didn't think the cat quilt was going to be that much of a pain in the ass, and it wasn't. It wasn't a pain in the ass. It was a little tedious, and with the problem with the fabric, but I managed. We got around it. So moving on here. What's coming up? Okay, our usual Wednesday with Stephanie and Stephen. Links in the show notes. And very advanced, because someone asked me about it yesterday on the pop-up sew day. So this is very advanced notice. The fall retreat, my fall retreat, will be on Saturday, October the 21st. Mark the calendar for that. But I will not be opening up registration, and there'll be more details. They'll be coming out sometime in September, probably the midway through September. I'll be sending out or talking about all the details about the fall retreat, revealing my presenters and what they're going to be talking about and all that good stuff. And then I'll open up the registration for it. Now, the registration will come in two bouts. Anybody who was at the spring retreat will get notification that I'm about registering for the fall retreat, and they get first dibs. Okay, that's their little reward for being faithful, for showing up, actually. That's what it is. I have a few names of people who pre-registered and never showed up, never even had the common courtesy to let me know why they didn't show up. Those people will not be allowed to register until about the day before, and if there's any spots left at that time. Sorry, you've heard me talk about this before. You may think I'm cruel, but as you know my saying, my sandbox, my rules. And then I'll give the people who did show up to the last retreat, I'll give them a timeline as to when they can pre-register. And after that, it will be opened up to anybody, with the exceptions of the ones I just mentioned, to register for it. So if you're one of the people in the first group, if you are sitting on the fence, not sure what your calendar is like, doesn't mean you can't register after that date. You can, but things will fill up fast. So that's how that'll work. But all those details will be explained to you and sent out to anybody that's on my mailing lists and everything. And it'll all be, I'll do a special video about all of this as well, and it'll be in my show notes, but that's not going to happen until sometime into the middle of September. So it's just an advance notice now about when that's coming up. So we had the pop-up sew day yesterday. We didn't have as many as we usually do, but we didn't have a bad number. I think at one point we had over 20 some there. We've gone as high as 40 some. But of course, like I said, this was a long weekend and for us in Canada, and it's summer. So if the weather was nice in somebody's area, did they really want to stay indoors all day and sew? Like, do you have a life? Kind of a thing. Well, I did, but so that was fine. So yeah, but anyways, it was a good time. We were a quiet group, very quiet yesterday. Usually we're like bouncing off the ceiling and the walls. Everybody was really working hard. I think we all had things we wanted to get done. So we had our nose to the grindstone and away we went. But that's okay too. That's perfectly all right. When's the next pop-up sew day? Have no idea. Probably, well, there will be one for sure sometime in September. Whether there'll be another one this month, I don't know. It depends on me. It's all about me. What are you looking up?
I'm just looking up something.
Dirty pictures? But
No.
Okay, whatever. So what's everybody saying? Oh, Teresa says it's not illegal to sell it by the yard, but they must also post the price in metric.
Where, in the US or in Canada or in UK? There are lots of places to sell by the yard, but do they always post by metric as well?
What, you mean here in Canada?
Yeah.
Nope, they do not. But I think I think, Teresa, you're referring to what Lucy said about the UK. I think that's what you meant. Yeah, Lucy says UK is metric for all sales except pints of beer.
Now, Lucy, I don't know if you know that. Are they imperial pints that they sell for beer, or are they selling pints as 500 milliliters?
Yeah.
Because here in Canada, a lot of times if you go to a pub and you say you want a pint of beer, they give you 500 milliliters, which is not an imperial pint and it's not a U.S. pint.
An imperial pint is how much?
I think I just looked it up as 568 milliliters, and U.S. is 473 or 475 milliliters.
So basically, a pint is not a pint. A pint is a pint, depending
Well, a
on
U.S.
where you
pint is different than an imperial pint. Same as a
Yeah.
U.S. gallon is different than an imperial gallon.
Yeah, well, a U.S. pint or gallon is smaller than an imperial.
Yeah.
So in Britain, I'm not sure. Well, you said it was what, 500 and something milliliters?
Yeah, I think an imperial pint, I think it was 568 milliliters.
Margaret says, I've always followed Murphy's Law, which is no matter how much of a particular fabric you have for the quilt you want to make, you'll be short, so buy extra. Yep. Good philosophy. Shirley said,
568.
568. So you get, so the best pint is the one you get in England.
Yeah.
It's the bigger one. Shirley says, missed the Saturday, so I was camping with my daughter and family. Not an excuse, Shirley. Really?
20 fluid.
You didn't have a network connection in your sewing machine with you out in the woods? You never know when, some poor animal might need a quilt. Cheryl says, I hope I can make the fall retreat. Just put it in on my calendar. Yeah. Oh, Wendy's here. Okay.
Yeah, 20 imperial fluid ounces is 568 milliliters. So
yeah. Cheryl says, I couldn't make the pop-up yesterday, hosted a family picnic. Yeah, well, it's summertime. There's no obligation. I don't want you guys to think that I was disappointed. I wasn't. I work with what I've got. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, all are welcome, but life happens on things like that. The only time I get uptight is on the retreat, because the retreat is a bigger affair. I spend a great deal of time planning it, arranging guest speakers. I want my guest speakers to have an audience, because the guest speakers do not get paid. They're doing it out of the goodness of their heart and me begging for them to do it. And there are prizes at the retreat. That costs me some money. The retreat is free and everything. So, if you commit yourself, if you put your name down and you say you're going to be there, I expect you to be there. Okay? Short of death. Okay? But you know this. You guys have been around here a long time. You know what I'm saying.
to make things even more screwed up, an American fluid ounce is bigger than an imperial fluid ounce.
It is?
Yeah.
But don't go there. Just don't go there. Just put it this way. If it's a pint in Canada, it may not be the same size as a pint in the UK or in United States. Just make sure you're getting a beer. Whatever in it. Lucy says 20 fluid ounces is a pint imperial in the UK.
Which is 568 milliliters, which is a pint. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, do you and Lucy want to get together with your calculators and fight it out?
Yeah.
Because this is a question now. Okay, Lucy, you got them going. I know, Lucy, you know lots of things about the UK and everything because you live there. But then you have to deal with Walter, who knows everything about everything, and the two of you can go in a corner and fight it out.
I always get confused, but anyway.
Yeah, really confused, yeah. Heidi says, fortunately for me, it rained fairly steadily yesterday. Okay, good for you. Philippa's here from Australia. Hello, Philippa. It's Sunday there. Teresa says, Len Mills in London post both prices. Fabric Man will cut it in yards if you ask. Most of the patterns are still printed in yardage unless you use the French side, which is metric. Yeah, we've been to the Len Mills in Cambridge area, and they have two prices on their fabric.
Yeah, they have yards and meters.
Metric. So if you want it cut in meters, you can, but you are going to pay a little bit more for it, but you're getting 3 inches more. So yeah. Collie says, I took a stand regarding length of goods here in Canada and got it by the meter. I think it was illegal to sell imperial, but that got relaxed later on. I'm looking forward to the fall retreat. Okay, so Colleen, did you mean that you got it by, you got stuff by the meter, but you think it was illegal to sell imperial, but that got relaxed later on?
Yeah, at one point in
Was
time
it
it
one
probably
time was it
was.
was illegal? Maybe when we first switched
Yeah,
over, we were
probably.
given a timeline on that.
And
Yeah.
now they've relaxed it.
There's no imperial police,
No.
I guess.
I mean, somebody would have to take him to task on that.
Yeah. Oh, Margaret's going on a Canadian cruise September 10th to 17th. Yeah, well, that's not when the retreat is, Margaret. It's October 21st. I know. Sherlock says, I don't sign up for retreats because I don't know hubby's schedule and I would feel bad for canceling. Well, you know, Sherlock, there's an easy solution to this. You tell your husband, I'm going to be on a retreat on October the 21st. So screw you.
Well, you can sign up, and if as long as you know hubby's schedule, then you can cancel.
Don't you start undercutting me here. All right? He has no say in this. My retreat, my rules. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I mean, you guys know shit happens, right? Life happens. I'm not that much of a tyrant. Those people that I said are not going to get an invitation to come to the retreat were ignorant individuals who did not even have the common courtesy to drop me a line after the fact and say, I'm so sorry. This happened to me at the last minute. I was in a terrible accident and in the hospital. One of my grandchildren was deathly ill. I had to look after them because their parents, couldn't. They had to work, whatever. That kind of stuff I know happens, and that's okay. But when it's radio silence,
if your kid was sick 3 weeks ago and they're still sick, and then you decide at the last minute, I'm not going to go because...
And I had one that did that. She did send me an email. And she had a sick grandson or something. She had to go out of state to go to her children's, or whether son or daughters, whatever, the parents of this sick child, their place to look after them. But then she turned around and said, well, she'd been there for 3 weeks, though, already. Before the retreat. What was stopping that individual from sending me an email and say, I'm not going to make the retreat because I'm stuck in this situation right now? Because at that point, I have a waiting list, and I can easily slot somebody in that's on the waiting list. But because she didn't do that, somebody on the waiting list was not able to get a spot that could have had a spot. And that's where the crux of all this comes from. Okay? So just so you understand that. And I don't want to hear the one about your dog ate your homework or your grandmother has died now for the 4th time this year. Okay? And believe it or not, it's just like in school when kids had an excuse for why their assignment wasn't ready to be handed in after they'd known about it for a month and everything like that. Same thing. I've heard them all. And quite frankly, I don't necessarily believe the excuses that come up.
My grandmother died. She died 5 times this year.
Yeah, really. Oh, I had kids like that in school. Yeah, I'd say, I thought your grandmother died last Christmas. It's my other grandmother. Yeah, well, I thought she died at Easter. Well, it's my other grandmother. How many grandmothers do you have? Well, it depends. Maybe they come from a second marriage home. I don't know.
We were in bear country.
Well, Lucy says she's agreeing with you. You two are on the same page. Good thing. Thanks, Dale. Oh, it's Monday. Oh, yeah, I guess it is Monday. I forget. Today's Sunday, isn't it? Yeah. So, Walter, when are you starting your channel?
Never.
Yeah.
That's not my job.
Yeah, apparently not. His job is to be a critic, and he does it very well. Shirley says we were in bear country. No internet, and was busy trying out my new mobility scooter. Washrooms were a distance away. How fast this thing goes? Fast enough, thank goodness. I could just see Shirley going down a hill, legs straight out on the thing, hands up going, whee! Oh, jeez. Yeah, bear country. Whoa. Oh, I guess it's not the kind of bear we like. Okay. Sherlock says, I will send you an email to explain. It's okay, Sherlock. I'm pretty much pulling your foot. You do you. I won't hate you. Patsy got to run. Toodles all. Have a good week. Okay, bye, Patsy. Derek says, I've always had more respect for the kids who honestly told you that they didn't have their work ready because they were out partying rather than coming up with an elaborate tale. Yeah, I had a few students like that told me, I just didn't get it done, sir, because I went to this thing the other night and whatnot. And I'd look at them and go, and so what do you want me to do about it? Well, I don't know. And I says, well, we have a standard late policy. So he says, yeah, I know. Like those kids were usually, yeah, I know. Yep. There's a consequence. You decided to go to the Blue Jays game because you had tickets for it and didn't do your assignment. Well, that's fine. You can hand it in late, but you will be penalized. That's the rule. Yep, that's exactly it, Stephanie. Walter's job is driving Miss Daisy. Anybody doesn't know I'm Miss Daisy.
Mr. Daisy.
Mr. Daisy, whatever. Sherlock says, I know you're pulling my foot. Yeah, in other parts. Believe it or not, the grandkid, Shirley said, did take video of me doing that exact thing. I had no doubt about it, Shirley. I wasn't just being funny. I know. I'm just thinking about that picture of your girls' night out there about a year ago, remember? Mm-hmm. You're lucky I don't have a copy of that because I'd be using it. But so, okay, pop-up sew day, as I said, was fun. If you weren't there, you missed a good time. Maybe you'll be able to make it to the next one, whenever that is. Okay, got new lights behind me. You can see them behind Walter's head. Temu, yep. I think they cost me about $14 or something, but they're fun. They run all across the wall and behind, and when I'm doing pop-up sew day or sewing with Stephanie and Steven or whatever, when we do those kind of things, those are on and they kind of look nice in the background. I love lights. I love fun lights. I'm just a sucker for that kind of thing. My arm. So, had an x-ray on Tuesday, had an ultrasound on Wednesday. On Thursday, the doctor's office called and said they had sent a prescription for me for an painkiller. With it, I have tendonitis and possibly bursitis. I can't say that word. Bursitis. I've been doing some reading about this, and apparently this is something that can come and go. It may go away for a while. It may come back another day. Right now, it feels really good. It's, I can move it every which way. It's not really hurting me. But if I was to try to lift something really heavy with this hand, that would hurt me. That won't work. So she prescribed to me this
naproxen,
which is
a super version of Aleve. So,
and I'm not taking it because apparently the side effects are it eats your stomach out. We talked a bit about well,
obviously this. It's not painful enough for you to take it. So,
no, it's not. Right now, I can sleep at night. I took a special gummy last night. That helped. Not because my arm was hurting, just because I wanted to take a special gummy because I wanted to sleep because I was tired and my brain was going full blast. And when my brain goes full blast, I can't get any sleep. So I just wanted to knock myself out. But no. It's poison. Talk to the pharmacist because let's face it, general practitioners don't have a clue about pills. All they know is what they're told by the pill companies, the people who make them. Pharmacologists are supposed to be trained in all this stuff and they're supposed to know all these things and whatnot. Well, the pharmacologist we have at my local drugstore where I get my prescriptions has no personality. He answers in one word. I said, okay, hi, I wonder about this drug I've got. My doctor prescribed it. It says I have to take it twice a day with food for 30 days. I'm also reading that side effects are it can really screw up your stomach lining and things like that. And I'm not really thrilled with this. Do you have any suggestions? No. Okay, that was so. Will it bother my stomach? Yes. All right. No qualification there about you might want to cut down the dosage or anything like that. I said, so I do have to take it with food because I usually take my medication first thing in the morning. Yes. All righty. So he says, so how often you're supposed to take this? It says on the side of the thing. So, well, what did your doctor say? I didn't talk to my doctor. Her receptionist called me and told me this was happening. Well, you might want to call your doctor. Okay, well, thank you so much for your great expertise. I'll keep that in mind. You're never getting my blood because now at our Shoppers Drug Marts in Canada, they will now do blood tests for you.
Hmm.
There. It's a one-stop service. Take my blood, pop me a pill, kick me in the ass. I'm fine. Nothing. So I'm not taking it. I'm going to, if for some reason my arm is really bad at something, like to the point where this pain is too great, then I might pop one. But otherwise, I'm not. Now, apparently in France, because we have Nadine and her daughter, Ellenson, I want to say Allison, but it's not said as Ellison. It's Ellis. Anyways, her daughter, lovely person. She was saying that in France you can get this powder you mix with water, and it coats your stomach. And I guess everybody in France knows about this and use it on a regular basis when they've been prescribed a medication that may wreak havoc on their stomach. And she gave me a name for it. It is basically a probiotic, and it's readily available in all kinds of different formats. But because the reason I was interested in this is because my father was prescribed Celebrex because he had really bad knees and everything, and he got an ulcer from it. And when he talked to his family doctor about it, he mentioned this stuff. Oh yeah, I should have told you that Celebrex is really hard on your stomach, but there is another thing I could have given you that would help you. Well, why didn't you do that in the first place, you bloody quack? Like, really? I mean, you go to a doctor and you expect that they are going to, like, they know more than you do, right? Because they spent all these years in school learning this stuff and they're supposed to be up on it. No. As I always say, medical science is not that far out of the Middle Ages. We're about one pill away from going to bloodletting again. And apparently that's coming back. They're using leeches in a lot of things again. So, yeah. So I'm not impressed, but it feels good right now. I just have to be careful and watch what I do with it. No more opening up tight Cheese Whiz jars, you know. Melissa says, speaking of a special gummy, your cannabis shirt looked amazing. My son would go bonkers over it. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yep, my cannabis shirt. Teresa says, do you pay attention to sitting ergonomically correctly when you're sewing and take breaks when you play with Lucy so you don't get a repetitive strain injury, said as one shoulder person to another? Well, Teresa, actually, that's interesting that you bring that up because I do think that part of my problem has been brought on by quilting. Like when I'm binding a quilt and that, you know how heavy they are. And I have it spread out on an extended table kind of thing to take the weight off it. But this is the arm that I use to shove the fabric or to hang on to it, and you're constantly adjusting and grabbing it. So yes, I think you are definitely right about repetitive, what do they call that? Repetitive motion stress or whatever. Yeah, I have a special chair that I bought, a sewing chair. I bought it because my back was hurting me on what I used to sit on. And this chair's been great for that because it forces you to sit, with support in your back, like not the way I'm sitting right now in this chair. This is not the chair. So yeah, and I do take breaks from Lucy. But you're right. You're absolutely right. You need to do that kind of stuff, and I have to be more conscious of that.
Stephanie said she suggests you take ice cream to coat your stomach.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I don't have a problem with that, Stephanie. You need to take it. Eat something to coat your stomach with ice cream first, then take it. Oh, okay. Stephanie, you should be a doctor. I like that idea. Landa has to run. Derek says, naproxen can be useful, but you are correct that they could co-prescribe something to minimize stomach irritation. Surprised the pharmacist didn't suggest a gel cream alternative to rub on the skin. Well, I have Voltaren that I have been using, and Voltaren apparently does have that chemical in it as well. But my theory is, but it's not going into my stomach like the pills are, right? Because it's just going on my arm. Does it help? a little bit, but not that much with it. But no, you'd have to have met this pharmacist. Um, he has no personality, none whatsoever. He just looks through you. I complained to him because they gave me the wrong medication once. And if I hadn't checked it and read the label, I wouldn't have known I had the wrong medication. And so I said to him, I was given the wrong medication. That's the answer I got. Radio silence. And I said, well, if I hadn't read that label, what about some of your more older customers or clientele? They accept you gave them the wrong medication. It could kill them. What's your perspective on that? Nothing. I complained about him. I wrote the Shoppers Drug Mart, and they just nothing. Like, they just ignored it. It didn't matter. So, until he kills somebody, kind of a thing. So, yeah. Shirley took naproxen, ended up bleeding internally. Ooh. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I was prescribed it once, and I ended up having a skin problem with it.
Yeah. So, you see, it's chemicals. We're playing with chemicals. And let's not forget that this is probably not the only drug most people are on, and when it gets prescribed to them, it's not for me. I have blood pressure pills and I have cholesterol pill too. So, how do these interact with each other? Teresa says you can probably get the probiotic in a pill here. A lot of meds that we take as pills are dispensed as powders in Europe. Yeah, you can find it. If you put in the name of whatever this stuff was called, it comes right up. You can buy it on Amazon. It comes in pill form. And, Weber, vitamins, all the major ones, they all have one for it. It's a probiotic. Maybe yogurt. I don't know. Probiotic yogurt. But I'm not taking it. So unless it's really a desperate thing. And then I'll eat ice cream first, as Stephanie said. Yum. And take the pill. Ibuprofen, if suggested by GP, will prescribe a stomach protector as well. Yeah, I know it can affect your stomach too. Well, no, my GP isn't prescribing anything. She just automatically goes, oh, well, take this. And take it for a month and take it twice a day. Oh, right. So then I have a bleeding ulcer. Okay, thank you for that. Kathy says she takes ibuprofen with a meal. Yeah. And Stephanie says, I was actually being serious. I thought you were, Stephanie, because I have heard that. Yeah. Before I was a quilter extraordinaire, I was a pharmacy technician for years. Coat your stomach with dairy, yogurt, or ice cream. Yeah. Well, I believed you. I didn't think you were being funny about it because I have read about that before, too. I was just being funny about the fact that, do I need an excuse to have ice cream? No. But I will say that. Dara says, maybe a dish of that Costco potato salad would coat your stomach as well. That stuff is crack, by the way. Yeah, we know. We've been eating it all summer. Kat says, we love that idea with Stephanie. I better do the yogurt, though. Yeah. So anyways, my arm is getting better, I guess. So it's...
Don't do that.
Yeah, just don't do that. Does it hurt when you do this? Well, don't do that. Yeah. Car insurance. We're still waiting. Mm-hmm.
Well, I did get a message from her. Was it Thursday? I think it was Thursday. Yeah, because I had sent a message out, and they said they were hoping by next week that they would have that, but they couldn't guarantee it.
Come Monday, it'll be what? 5 weeks or 6 weeks?
5.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I think 6 is the magic number
for
them. And update on the Quilt of Valor that I made. It is going to go to Quilt of Valor people. The lady that I wrote to about it, who's the area representative closest to me, she profusely apologized for not getting back to me sooner. And she said, as far as her group was concerned, their branches out, they didn't follow that policy of you couldn't wash them. And she says they would definitely, if I wanted to donate it, they'll definitely take it. So come this Friday, we are driving down to this lady's home to drop it off to her. Sounds like she's very nice, but here's something that's kind of ironic, I guess. I don't know if that's the right word for it. So I was asking her for directions to her place, and I was assuming she was living in this one town, Trenton, which is a military-based town, because that's what said she represented that area. But it turns out she actually lives in a town that I was born in, Campbellford, which is a little Hickville place about an hour and 15 minutes to the east of us. And I said to her, "Oh, you'll never believe this." I said, "I was born in Campbellford. All my relatives pretty much lived and died there." Kind of a thing. And then she says her husband is a veteran and he grew up where we live in Oshawa. There's only going to be one more kicker on this one. I'll bet you we're going to find out that we have relatives. We have relations somehow in her family or with her husband or something like that when we go down there, because Campbellford is a small place and it's a place where brothers marry sisters. So you know what I'm talking about. Dog patch. Fun time out is a case of Black Label beer and a bonfire. Setting small children on fire. So anyways, that's on Friday. We do that, and she offered us we could have a drink while we're there. I don't know if it was going to be alcoholic or otherwise. Of course, we're supposed to meet her at her place at 11 o'clock in the morning. Might be a bit early for a alcoholic beverage, but whatever. She sounds like a very nice person. So anyways, I'm glad that my quilt is going to go where it should go. Teresa says, my shoulder is to the point now that my other pain meds, back, knees, etc., doesn't even touch it. I get cortisone injections. I'm sure there's a surgery in the future. Well, you've got it really bad, Teresa, with that. Melissa says, oh my, gee, car insurance is outrageous here in Georgia. Well, it is here too. Derek says, imagine you didn't have the resources to sort out an alternative car whilst you were waiting for the insurance company. Really poor customer service. Must be really frustrating for you.
Derek, I probably could have still had the rental car by this point in time. The rental car was good for up to $3,000, and the 2 weeks that I had, 2.5 weeks that I had it, it was $1,000. So I could have probably still had it.
Oh, Karen, how do you know about Doer's Donuts? Are you from that area? Are you from the Campbellford area? Doer's Donuts is a bakery. It's been there it was there when I was a little kid. And they have this one donut. It is a honey dipped glazed donut split in half with whipped cream in the halves. My grandmother used to get them for us when we were kids. They are absolutely decadent. And people line up outside of this bakery on the weekends especially to get their stuff from it. So Lucy says Deliverance. Okay, Deliverance. Do you mean the movie? Oh, yeah, okay, I get it now. I was talking about the hillbillies squeal like a pig boy. Yeah, okay, got it now. Took me a minute. Glenn is here, says, glad to hear your QV quilt will be donated. Yep. And Sherlock says, my doctor put me in physical therapy for my shoulder. Is from quilting and how I sat while doing it. Yeah, well, I think part of it is my, like I said, I'm not probably being very ergonomically correct in my posture.
Well, I had a problem with my shoulder about 3 or 4 years ago. I lifted a pile of these huge boxes of books and did something to it. And it's now just beginning to feel okay again.
And Karen, she's near Peterborough. We head out a few times here for bakery and the Empire Cheese Co-op. Oh yeah. Oh, and World's Finest Chocolate before it was sold. Yeah, they do have an outlet though. There, where the factory was, where you can still buy some of their stuff in there. But it's not being made by World's Finest anymore either. So yeah, for the rest of you, you have no idea what Karen and I are talking about, because Karen comes from the same neck of the woods that I come from. Philippa says, messing up my meds would be a problem for me. I am allergic to one entire family of antibiotics. If I have wrong one, it's lights out for me. Yeah, I guess we just have to be careful, right? Read everything, and you can always say no. And that's why I'm saying no to this stuff. I've got a big bottle of it. I'm saying no. I'm not taking it. So, another thing you need to be aware of. okay, you know I've been buying things from Temu, and I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube. People are all doing Temu hauls and things like that. And so far, the stuff that I have bought, with the exception of the fabric, I've been happy with. I'm happy with their how long it takes them to get it to you. They get it to you within about 7 to 10 days. Um, they have a great return policy. If you don't get it by the date they say you're going to get it by, they will give you a $5 credit on your next order on the shipping. It's been free shipping forever, too. And, so not bad. However, I discovered something. If you've been watching my vlogs, and I've been talking about my 3D printing, I have a segment on there about that. I talked about Temu having these cheap 3D printers, like $18.97 for a 3D printer. Now they're small. They only do something about 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches. So that's like a quarter of the size of my machines here. But I was curious, will they work? $18.97? Yeah, I figured this is a toy, but I thought, I think I'm going to order one and I'm going to show it on my channel. Give it a review, right? For shits and giggles, as they say. Well, guess what? I found it. I clicked on it, add to cart. But then it came up and said, well, color. It wanted me to pick a color. What color? Doesn't look like it has different colors. So I clicked on the picture of the little printer. There was another picture of filament you could add to it as well. But I clicked on the picture of the printer, and it came up $129. And I went, what? No, it's supposed to be $18.97. I went back in, thought I did something wrong, tried again. Nope, $129. What was $18.97 was the little package of filament beside it. But that's not what was in the description.
So no, I looked at it too. The description they had all kinds of printers for $18, $19 or whatever. But anytime you clicked on the printer, it would bring up a thing that you had to click this other thing, like a color or something else.
Say color.
And every time you clicked on that other color thing, it would come up with like $130 or something.
Yeah. And they have a bunch of them listed, and it was the same for all of them, because I clicked on all of them that were at like $120, and they'd come up anywhere between $130 to $200. You got to watch it on Temu. I don't know what other products they might do that with, but it's very easy to miss that little detail, and then you check out and bang, you're paying a lot more money than you thought you're going to pay. That is underhanded. Okay, so if you're going to order anything from Temu, just make sure you double check your cart to make sure the prices you think you're paying are exactly what you're paying. So
what you think you're paying,
yeah, with it, because that is a little underhanded.
Yeah, it is pretty
trick.
underhanded.
That's very underhanded. Well, it's in China. I'm not going to say any more about that. I think everybody knows what I mean with that. So anyways, I've done a little video about that I'm going to show on my vlog tomorrow when it goes up, talking about that in a little bit more detail. So buyer beware. So anybody got anything they want to bitch about? We're almost ending here. Heidi says, yeah, bait and switch. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Brenda's had to go. Bye, Brenda. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe you guys had some things you want to be pissed off about and bitch. We could all commiserate together, but maybe the weather's too nice where you are, and who wants to be bitching on a day like that? But anyways, what's been in the news here? Well, I'm sure you've all heard about the big split up of the century. Our prime minister and his wife are separating. Yep. I like Trudeau. I voted for him twice. Not in the same election, but and I thought he was doing a pretty good job. And then lately he's been going like down the tubes, like saying, refugees, come to Canada. All of you, come to Canada. But he wasn't given any money to house them, feed them, or anything like that. He was leaving it all up to the big cities where they were all going, of course, and no jobs for them there. What are you doing?
Nothing. I'm fidgeting.
Well, stop.
I'm waiting for you to stop yapping.
Well, you go ahead. You pick it up.
No, I don't want to. Go away.
No, you pick it up.
No.
Come on, let's hear what you
Keep
have to say.
yapping. Keep yapping.
Pick a finger. That's the one. You got it. So what was I saying? So anyways, he's been screwing up, and now the latest is he's getting rid of his wife. So this is news. Yeah,
Barb
really.
thinks they've been separated for a couple of years, so
Oh, that's a possibility, Barb.
more than likely.
Yeah, they probably have. They've got separate lives with it also. Anyways, Heidi says, phone scammers are welcome to take a long walk off a short pier with a pocket full of rocks. Yeah, I know. Trolls. Yeah, trolls. Clickbait. Lucy says, I'm not pissed off really. Yeah, Stephanie says, how much time do you have? So, actually, this is good. Everybody's got something to bitch about. Rather than listening to us all the time about it, next week, it's the all bitch live session. You bring the bitching and we'll all commiserate together. I'm serious. That's right. In fact, if you want, you can tell us what you're pissed off about. Put it in the comments below. I'll compile the comments for next week's show and we'll go through this and have just a good old bitch session. Okay? Sometimes it's good to have a bitch session. Clears the air. Everybody saw that. Maybe she's getting rid of him. Maybe. Yeah, okay. That's the plan, people. Next week. For next week, in the comment section below this video, what's your pet peeve? What do you want to bitch about? What's grinding your, I don't know, whatever, grinding something? What's getting your knickers in a knot? Or your tits in a twist, they say, about it. And I think this will be fun. And we'll go through these and talk about them. Air it. So next week the air will be blue. All right, it's time to go because Walter's fidgeting. So yeah. And when he fidgets, it means he's bored. All right. So anyways, hope you have for those of you that are off tomorrow because it's a long weekend here in Canada, enjoy. Those of you that have to go to work, enjoy. Those of you that are retired like me, yay! It's weekend all the time. Yeah. Okay. Have a good week. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye everyone.